Hey there, fellow streakers.
Hello.
How's
Well,
everyone
I was
doing?
supposed to
Oh,
start.
you were supposed to start.
Hey,
Sorry.
fellow streakers. Good morning. Welcome to your day.
That was
I
beautiful.
assume people listen in the morning, but maybe it's, anytime
Whenever
you're
they
listening,
listen,
it's a good day.
it's a good day. And it may be morning, and so good morning.
Good morning.
Or it may be afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good evening. I hope you've had a great day.
Yeah, whichever it is, we hope
We're just glad
that
you're
you've had
here.
a great streaking day.
Yep.
I mean, that's all there is
That's
to
all
it.
there is to it.
You know, Jamie, last time we promised everyone, well, we didn't really promise, but we were talking a lot about how many streaks we have.
And we never answered the question.
Everyone's like, really? Really? That's what you're going to do to us?
So we thought we'd start today by being honest and telling you.
Well, I don't know if we're going to reveal right out of the chute how many streaks, but we're going to get there today. We promise we will tell you in this podcast.
I'm going to tell him. I'm just going
No,
to tell
don't
him
do
right
it.
now.
Don't do it yet. We're going to tell you in this podcast how many streaks we have. But I think before we do that, as we continue on and you continue to use the app, I want to talk about one thing on the app just before we go. And it's the friend feature on the app, okay? Now, it's not really intuitive on the app. And we've been working with how to make it more intuitive, wouldn't you say? I mean,
We're working on as we get more accustomed to using it and more people using it and understanding what's intuitive and what's not. We're constantly tweaking the app.
absolutely, because we
So-
want to make it better, and we get feedback from you as you
And the
use
fun
the app.
thing is that it's one of those things where this has been something that's been a little hard for me because I want it to be, and I have this problem with everything in life. I want it to be great and then we start. But life is a lot more of.
Can I just say, it's not a problem. She expects perfection, and so I try to live up to that. I work for it every single day, and that's why I'm a streaker.
Yes. And so what we've learned is
I
that
love
we're
it.
working towards perfection while we're doing it. We can't
Right.
wait till have perfection before we start. We're just kind of, it's like walking one step in front of the other. Perfect. Oh, improve. Perfect. Oh, improve.
That's good. I like
So-
that. I like that little metaphor.
But-
So with the app on the friend feature, okay, so as you know, the laws of streaking, you've got keep it laughably simple, keep a record, and create a community. And this is significant because every streak belongs to a community of some sort or another. Now, it's still your streak. You set the streak. It's not the community streak, but having a community join with you in what that streak is very helpful. So how to do it inside of the app. So you can add friends, and you do that by clicking on the little button that is right at the bottom. You've got a friend, all right? You can look at that and say, or excuse me, it's right below the streaking one. It has 3 people on it.
Right.
That's your friend. And then you can search for a friend. Now, if you haven't had your friend join yet, have them download the streaking app, register for an account, and then they can have that. And by the way, cool announcement on this one is we've decided to, so previous to today, and this is in the works, so I'm not sure if it's quite released yet, but we're getting there. We're going to open it up so that anyone that downloads the app can join the community.
You don't have to have subscribed to download to
Right.
be a part of the
Prior
community.
to this, you would have had to have subscribed to be a part of the community. But now we're opening that up because we want everyone to be able to be a part of the community. What will still remain the same is you still get 1 stack and 3 streaks,
Right.
which is great. We want you to start there, and we want you to figure.
In
Go
fact,
ahead.
we really want you to start there. We don't want, I just worry that if people get out there and they set 10 streaks right out of the chute, that's not, you need time to add it into your life. You
To get
need
used to being laughably simple, to the
Yes.
consistency, to the winning every day, to the idea of keeping the record, to the
So I almost kind of am like, just do the 1 stack and 3 streaks, start there.
yes.
And then you'll give it some time, give it a couple months. And then you'll be like, okay, I'm feeling good about this. And you'll
Right.
start being like, I want to try and add this one, or I want to try and add this one.
Right.
But give it time. That is my biggest advice. Give it time.
Absolutely. Just give it the time that it needs in order to be there. So in the friend feature, so you look for your friend. So you just type in your friend's name. And if they're not on there, have them download the app and
Right.
they'll be there. And then you'll send a request. Now, the way that you send a request is there'll be a little envelope that's right next there. You push on the envelope and then you'll see a thumbs up that the request is sent. Now, that's the only
I
notification
know, it
you're
took
going to
me
get.
a little minute to recognize. I'm like, wait, did I do it wrong? But it's once I recognized that was there, I loved it. Then I was like, ooh, request. But the little envelope kind of circles out, and then you get a little thumbs up. Now you're not
Which
going
means
to.
that the request was sent.
The request has been sent. Now the person on the other end has to go into their friend, their community,
Yes.
click on the community button, and then they'll see there's a little check mark, a green check mark or a black X, and you click that green check, and that means you've
did
accepted.
Did you accept me into your community?
I accepted you into my community.
And that's great. And so now you have complete control over who's in your community. And the other thing is your streaks are not shared right away when you enter the community, because we wanted to give you that level of privacy as well, because some streaks you may want to share and others you may not. But you can have any number of friends in there. And once you've accepted them as a friend, they can share streaks with you and you can share streaks with them. So for example, if you wanted to, and this will get us into team streaking a little bit in just a minute, but if you wanted to set a streak together, like Jamie, you and I, we have run or walk at least 1 mile daily. Or, for example, we have read a verse of scripture together daily.
Right.
Then what we do is we have each other's friend and we share that streak. Now the question is, how do you share a streak with a friend?
How do you share a streak with a friend?
Do you know?
Well, you download. Oh, yes. You actually go, and this is what I love. You go to each individual streak.
Right.
Because we wanted to have it that you didn't share.
I love this. I wasn't testing you. I was just throwing it out there.
Well, at first I was like, we just talked about this. Did I miss something? I understand.
No, and I'm with you. I kind of, so how do you share? And you're like, really, hon?
We just
talked about this.
Click on the community button. You find if they're out there.
But remember, the streaks aren't shared yet.
Right. So
it's
then
just
you
that you've added them to your friend community. So now how do you share the actual streak?
And I love this part of it, because then each individual streak, you can decide who you want to share that streak with.
Okay.
So if you want to share all of your streaks with one person, you have to go to each individual streak and share that streak with the same person.
Is that kind of a pain though? I mean, because we talked a lot about this as far as how we should open it up. And we don't know. I mean, that still may...
I like it. For right now, it's the best way to give people the latitude to not share all of their streaks, but to individually decide who they're sharing those
what we
streaks
have
with.
talked about and we've worked with the developers on is maybe we share a stack of streaks.
Yeah.
So you can share the stack and it will share everything underneath
and
that
I can
stack.
see that being something that comes in the future.
Right. So that you can have, like, for example, and again, this goes to team streaking, where you have a stack of streaks for your team. And there's 1, 2, or 3, maybe 4 streaks that are a team streak.
Right.
And so you share that stack. But that's not yet.
Not yet, but it's coming.
So right now, in order to share a streak with your friend, you long press the streak. So just long press on the streak itself. You just hold it down.
I feel like there's so many things in streaking that are teaching us to be patient. So when you long press on that, just be patient for a second.
I was watching you do this just a little while ago, and you would like hold it down and you're like, it's not working.
It's not working. And then I'm like, slow down. Just hold it for a second.
Hold it for a second. And
then it comes up. But it is interesting. We get on these apps, we get on our phones, and our fingers are like, boom, boom, boom. I want this to happen fast. Tap,
weren't
tap,
you
tap,
watching?
tap, tap.
You were watching one of your friends go through it.
Yes.
And wasn't she just like,
she's like,
flying?
this isn't working. And I'm like, well, just slow down. You got to tap here and tap here. So it's been, but that's, we want. And so part of what I love about the app and streaking is there is a little bit built into it right now to kind of just slow down. You're being intentional about what you're doing. Take a second and recognize, like, there's a little, when you select a streak, when you've completed a streak and you so
to show that you've completed the streak, you touch the hexagon. There's an empty hexagon. Or if you're doing the streak, 3 or 4 times in a week, there'll be little hexagons, but you touch that right there and it goes solid. But then what happens?
You get this little cancel bar that's a red bar across the bottom that shrinks. In other words, you've got till that bar goes away to cancel it if you mismarked it.
You
mismarked it. And I've enjoyed just slowing down and watching that cancel bar, just taking a second and being like, oh, okay, I did that, rather than done, 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 move on.
Right.
So I've liked that.
Right. And I like it too. And so when you're sharing a streak with a friend, when you long press, it'll flip over and it'll ask you who you want to share it with, basically. I mean, as I'm looking at the app right now, it says tap here to share with friends. So when I tap on that, it'll bring up a list of all of my friends. And if I've shared the streak already, there'll be a check mark next to the friend I've shared it with. If I haven't shared it with a friend, then I can tap on that friend and it will share with that friend. So what does that do then?
Then that friend accepts that I don't know. Do they have to accept that they've...
They actually, no, they don't have to accept, but they see it.
They start to
see it at that point.
So then they get a little drop-down arrow next to their name showing how many streaks.
Right. If you go back underneath the friends, it's drop-down arrow. You can see the streaks. And one of my favorite things is you can high-five them.
Yes.
So in other words, you can say, "Hey, good job," and just a little high five, and they'll see that at the top of their screen. They'll see, Jeff high fived you or Jamie high fived you. So
Or to say Jeffrey encouragements. So it
yes.
shows.
Oh, that's right. That's what it is.
Yep.
So if you want to, if you'd like to be our friend, either Jeff or Jamie, look for us, Jeff Downs or Jamie Downs. And I think it's Jeffrey Downs. And I may have several in there. I don't know.
Just friend them all.
Just shoot me a friend request. I'll friend you, and I will immediately share with you 3 of my streaks. And one of those streaks that we promised on the last one, I'll share with you is how long my sentence streak, and you may not even care, and that's fine. But I'll share it with you.
How many days have you been writing a sentence?
Have I been writing a sentence? Which brings us to something which we haven't answered yet, and we're going to answer, which is how many streaks do you have to date? Again, we're hesitant to tell you this because we have built these over the last 5 years. And we don't want to discourage anyone to say, really, that's how many streaks you have? But go ahead. Let's go ahead. The big reveal, Jamie, how many streaks are you currently maintaining?
I have 29 streaks right now.
29 streaks. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I just got to take that in for a second.
I hesitate. I'm like, should we tell people? But here's what I love. So I have 29 streaks. Some of my streaks I've been doing for a really long time. So some of them, for example, reading to the boys. Let's see how long I've been doing that one. Read to the boys.
Oh, you're going to reveal it? You're not just going to ask people to friend you and then you're going to do it there.
So
you're going to tell
I've
people.
been reading to the boys every day for 1,207 days.
That's awesome.
I've been doing it longer than that because
Now, that one's really been a team streak as well, hasn't it?
Yes.
So we
can talk about that.
Yeah, we as a team have really been doing
that. But then
that.
I also have one that I just started. Listen to a TED Talk at least once a week.
Oh.
I've done that.
I didn't know you started that one.
I've done that one time.
Hey, high five.
High five. So that's what I guess I have several streaks, that daily streak, like one of my daily streaks I've been doing for 73 days.
Now, let me go back to a couple of those. Why did you choose to add the TED Talk? What is that? What's your B statement or your stack that's added under, if you don't mind me asking?
Learning and growth is that one that I want to continue learning. And I've decided
Did it take you a while to decide whether or not you're going to add that streak?
Yeah, I've been wanting to listen to TED Talk consistently for years. Actually, I enjoy.
How would you like to be a TED Talk?
That would be really fun.
That was a real
hesitation
there.
Because at first I was like, oh, the glory of a TED Talk. And then the second thought was, oh, I'd actually have to do it. So I'm like, that would be fun.
The streaking TED Talk.
The streaking TED Talk. But the idea, I looked at it, I'm like, you know what? I can do that once a week.
Yeah.
And so, but that was my most recent streak that I've added.
So it's one. It's at one right now.
And so
and why? And you added it because you feel like that will point you toward, what was it? Learning and growing.
Yeah, just a continuous. I just want to always be doing things that are helping me to learn and grow and be exposed to the things that are happening and changing in our world and opportunities to learn. And I love a TED Talk is something for me that's simple enough that I'm like, I could do that once a week.
Yeah.
I can listen to it while I'm.
And they're all about 17 minutes. I mean, that's how long they last. And so you can have that right there and it's easy.
Right. So that for me was an easy way to continue.
And the way that you word that is you say, I'm going to listen to at least one TED Talk weekly.
Listen to at least one TED Talk.
And there's some real psychology behind that as far as the at least. The reason why we say at least is because inside of every single one of us is this desire, this ambition to be better, to do better, to step things up, to make it even more, rather than just accept it as the laughably simple and move forward. So to release your brain from that pressure, you state the streak in at least one talk per week.
So if I wanted to listen to more than one TED Talk, there's nothing stopping me.
No, at all.
And I can do that. But in order for it to be a streak and something that I am able to add consistently to my life,
right,
I just want to do it once a week.
Right.
Once a week is enough.
So with that, then you have 29 streaks. And now you didn't start with 29.
No, I started with one for a very long period of time.
Right.
And then I added 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And then a couple weeks later, I added another one. And so just.
And then a couple of years later, really, you added another one.
Well, and that's the thing. I've just been adding them. That's why I wanted to share that I have them all over the map. I have some that are in the 1,000 days. I have some that are in the couple hundred days. I have several that are in the, like I said, 73 days.
Now, how many
days.
weekly streaks versus daily streaks do you have? Do you know?
That's a good question. I don't know right off the hat.
Yeah.
I would have to look. I have set.
Are most of them daily, or are they a good mix? And I'm asking you this, and I don't know my own.
They're a pretty good mix.
Are they?
Yeah, I would say I have 4 or 5 weekly streaks.
Okay. So out of the 29, you say you have
Probably
4 or 5 that are weekly.
I could go and look real quick, and then the rest are daily.
Are
streaks.
daily streaks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But some of them are as simple, like one of my streaks is check my streaks.
So, which brings us back to, and we didn't actually talk about that. One of the streaks that I developed, so on our last podcast, we were talking a little bit about keeping the record. And when I lost the streak of writing at least one sentence daily,
right,
it was because I wasn't checking the record. So I set another streak, which was to check my streaks daily.
Right.
And it's kind of it's a little bit weird to think of it in that way. That
I know, but it's been helpful.
It's huge helpful.
I'm
I got to
like,
keep the streak alive of actually keeping the streaks.
Now it's one of my
checking
favorites
the streaks.
because I'll check my streaks a couple times a day now because with the app now I can check them off as I go.
Yeah.
And so that's always like a gimme streak. I'm like, oh, cool. Already done that one. But I wanted to talk a little bit about one of my streaks was to look at my budget every day. And that's changed. That streak is 1,443 days.
Okay.
But that streak started off as file a transaction every day. Like
in a budget category.
In a budget category. I wanted to take one of our transactions and file it according to a category.
Right.
And what was interesting about that is that as I continued to do that streak, I was running into situations where I didn't have a transaction to file for the day. Like I was so caught up that I didn't have something to file. And that kind of stumped me. So I don't know if it would be considered stepping it back, but I stepped a streak back a little bit because I was getting so good at it that it became something where it was just like, all I need to do is look at my budget every day.
Right.
And most of the time I file a transaction as part of that looking.
Yeah.
But I changed that a little bit.
So the question is what? So we talked about how, talking about, we had a streaker out there, Jamie, who is a financial consultant. And we talked a little bit about a couple of podcasts ago about how setting that streak has been so significant for us. And you stepping that streak back as far as now I just have to look at it. So the question that I have for you, so you still counted that streak as continuing?
I counted that.
How come?
Because to file a transaction, I had to look at my budget.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was doing it anyway. But I found it interesting that I actually kind of stepped it back a little bit because I was doing it so consistently that the original streak I had set wasn't what I was able to do every time. And so I'm like, really, all I need to do is look at my budget.
So so if you just look at it and don't file a transaction, even if there's 3-4 transactions in there, does it count?
It does.
Isn't that great?
Count. But the thing that's interesting is I'm motivated to often file those transactions because I'm excited to, that's the thing that's so fun about streaking is that it gives you the variableness that you need in a day. So if there's times that I'm tired or something, I could just look at it. But there's also a lot of days that I'm like, oh, I know it'll just take me a second to do this.
And so I'll just look at it real
sometimes
quick.
I think it'll take me a second and then I get stuck on something that's taken me a little longer. And I think, well, I don't want to take longer. I did my one. I'm good. And so
that's really good.
And
which brings us to as far as the number of streaks that you have. So one of the things that Rick, who's one of the streakers that asked this question, how many streaks do you have? So I have 31. So that's a big reveal. I have 31. You have 29. And the thing that is interesting is the next question that usually follows is, do you have enough time to get all those done?
Right.
And the thing that I look at is if I really focused on what I wanted to do for my streaks, in other words, the amount of time, I could probably get them all done, less the run or walk at least 1 mile. I can get them all done in probably about 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not about how long you do the streak in the sense of the amount of time it takes to get it done.
To do it, right.
Yeah, and this is a little bit of a weird one because it is about how many days in a row or how many weeks in a row you do it. It is all about, is it pointing you to who you want to be? Mm-hmm. It's not about the duration or the time, the amount of time in a day the streak takes. It's about the direction it's pointing you in.
Right.
And if it's pointing you to who you want to be, then I absolutely want to do it. Why would I not want to do it? I want to make sure that I do it. That's why I set the streak in the first place, is because in the past I was letting it all go.
And that's part of what I've seen evolve as I've been doing this, is that when we first started, a lot of my streaks, most of them I would do at night just before I went to bed. And as I've gotten more practiced at doing them, I've enjoyed starting my day often being like, okay, and now I actually have a couple streaks that are indicative of being done in the morning. Like there's specific streaks I want to happen in the morning. That took me a really long time to actually have the courage.
Are they laughably
to
simple?
set-
Is that
They are.
okay?
They're laughably simple.
Yeah.
They're. I think one of my streaks, not I think, but one of my streaks is to drink 8 ounces of water.
Yeah.
That's
Which,
one
by the way,
cup.
she has this great water bottle that she had that shows her how she's progressing as far as
And
through the
we've
day.
talked about
and you
that
misplaced it.
I know.
She's so sad right now.
I am. But I
You'll
haven't
find it
stopped
again.
drinking my water.
Which is interesting because your routine was interrupted.
My routine has been interrupted
Whoa,
because I
that's
lost my
huge.
water bottle.
You know, that's the thing
But
that we think a lot about is
and-
routine and habit. And you lost anyway.
I lost
That's
my
kind
water
of
bottle.
interesting.
And the sad thing is I'm not drinking as much water.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I'm drinking because that's why I loved that water bottle. It was helping me know how much I was. However, I know that I'm drinking at least 8 ounces every day.
Right.
So that's the thing that's been great is sometimes you have these things happen that the routine, you were in this place where you're like, I'm doing so good and I'm doing great. And that's awesome. And then something happens and you're like, darn, I'm not doing as good. However, that's what I love about the streak because I'm still doing. I don't have to
Right.
restart.
Right.
I'm still.
You still got the streak going.
Still got that
The
streak
environment changed, the routine changed, something changed about it. And when that environment routine changes, typically habits will be broken at that point because habits rely on those things. It's the how you do something. Whereas a streak is agnostic of those things.
It is, and that's so. It's great though because they go hand in hand. As I've
Yeah, I'm
gotten
not trying
more
to diss a habit.
streaks-
I'm just trying to say there's a difference, and to know the difference is important because it allows you to use each
Exactly.
one where you need to use it.
And that's what I've loved about this is that as we've gotten going, talking about, we're not even going to talk about Team Streaks.
I know we're
I
going to
just
break
looked
our
at the
promise again.
clock.
I know you looked at the clock, and we haven't even gotten.
Well,
to
I'm
Team
going to
Streaks.
finish what I'm saying is
Go
that
ahead.
as I've been doing streaks more, I've started to recognize how routines can help me to keep my streaks alive. So I do set up routines to help facilitate doing those streaks. But the beautiful thing is that if something does happen with the routine, the streak isn't broken. I'm still doing it. But I do love having routines. Routines have helped me so that I am doing my streaks kind of spread out through all of the day.
Yeah.
The other thing that happens is when I have spare moments,
Yeah.
I know I got to finish
You're
up
there.
quick.
You're done.
When I have spare moments, I do the streaks in those spare moments. And I love that.
I know. Well, we're out of time.
We're out of time.
And here's the thing, Team Streaks, we promise we will talk about it next time because there's some really good stuff. And think about it this way, anyone versus everyone Team Streaks. Hey, if you want to ask us a question, please do at Jeffrey, Jefffery, at streakingmastery.com or
Jamie, Jami at streakingmastery.com.
until we talk again, keep streaking.
Make her go home, they say, but I can show you a simpler way. It's the small and simple things that make the life we live worth living. Among the rush, do one push up, become a better you. It's the small and simple things that make you grow into what you're hoping. You're in a hurry, don't even worry. It's too simple not to do. It's the little things that make a better you. A better you.